My name is Shaq. I am from Temuan tribe of Orang Asli. So I will explain more about the Orang Asli tribes in my slides presentation. Then you know the meaning of Orang Asli and also why indigenous people, Orang Asli called differently the indigenous people in Borneo or east of Malaysia. And I am from state of Selangor. So my ancestor from Selangor state, and we've been living there for many generations. All right, I will share you my slide presentation now. I'm gonna do slide presentation on struggle of Orang Asli on land and forest in Malaysia. Brief history of Orang Asli. Orang Asli is a Malay language term for original people, first people or indigenous people. And like I mentioned earlier, Orang Asli are only been called in Peninsula of Malaysia. But the indigenous people in Sabah state and Sarawak state in Borneo, they call themselves as Orang Asal or native people of Borneo. And in Peninsula, we have 18 sub-tribes from 3 ethnic groups, namely Semang or Negrito, Senoi, and Proto-Malay. And we have 178,197. And we live throughout the Peninsula Malaysia, close to the middle of the peninsula, and actually because that area in the middle of peninsula full of a jungle, large jungle. This is the distribution of the Orang Asli. So the population count of each of the tribes. So my tribe is fall on Proto-Malay, so Temuan down here, and the end of the list is Temuan 18,000. So most of Temuan live in Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, and Melaka. So this is Proto-Malay, this is Senoi, and this is Negrito. Main of economy, some of our semi-nomadic tribes like Negrito ethnic group, they are actually semi-nomadic. Semi-nomadic is they build a village only for the short period of time, and then they move from place to place in the forest in search of food and non-timber forest produce for sale. And when that area been used for maybe 2-3 years, they will move the village to the new area. So most of the tribe is Jahai and Lanoh. And I actually just come back about 2 weeks ago, coming from the Jahai community in northern of Malaysia, close border to Thailand, and I saw one village already moved in from different area of the forest. They just clearing small piece of land to build their village. And I saw other Orang Asli tribes like myself. We are permanent agriculture. For example, rubber, oil palm, cocoa, fruit tree, and also vegetable to sell our vegetable to outside and also for consumption. And also other tribe who doing the economy based on swindling, hunting and gathering, trading durian, petai, and rattan. So most of these come from the Sonoy people under the group of Sonoy linguistic. So 40% of Smai, because Smai is the largest group. Most of 60% of Smai are professional already. They live nearby the city, and 40% is still living near the forest, where the village still live nearby the forest. So they go to for hunting, gathering, and also selling the jungle product to the people in the city. And also we have the, three tribes that depending on the coastal fishing in Peninsula. So most of coastal fishing indigenous people, they live nearby the coast area in Selangor and also in Johor, and most of their livelihood based on catch or gathering they can get in near the ocean and also near the beach. So they often become a quite important role in providing fish to the Malaysian community, and also some of the tribe like orang Selatan, orang Laut, and they adopting the fish farm and mussel farm, and they're quite successful businessmen in selling those jungle product. And also and proto, and you can see here I list already some of the different tribe and different lifestyle, and so yeah, social economy. You can see this lady, she holding the snakehead fish. Snakehead fish is quite valuable in Malaysia. It's priced more than normal fish because it's quite rare, quite hard to catch. And Orang Asli and forest. I'm trying to talk about the relationship, why Orang Asli and forest are very close by, and because indigenous people or Orang Asli in Malaysia are among the poorest and most vulnerable people in Malaysia, and quite high number of infection reported in Southeast Asia in terms of so many disease, and we quite vulnerable in any new infection happening in Malaysia. And we use our jungle as a part of to find our medicine, as a part like a pharmacy shops for us. So we depending on jungle to find the medicinal herb and also food and so on. So problem we have is and I will go to the next slide. I will show you the, and this is the during the COVID-19, and the Orang Asli or indigenous people, we fled to the jungle in search of food, and also to isolate ourselves from other people who will bring the disease to the community. Even my village, they don't ask me or any of my siblings to go back to the village. They already build a blockade in the main of the road to not to allow people from outside to enter the village during the COVID-19. So it shows here that forest is very important in Orang Asli, and it's not just a place for us to stay, but a place for us to survive. And this is the history of a land right issue in Malaysia. And one of our landmark issue is Sagon Tasi or Sagon bin Tasi with organization versus with Selangor state government. Kerajaan Negeri Selangor means Selangor state government. So that was a landmark case for Malaysian indigenous people in Malaysia, that we won the case against the Selangor state government. And the case is because the highway development been built on top of the indigenous people village. So they split the village into two parts. So without any prior consent and consent with the community. And the Temuan people who live there, they take the case to the court and challenge and fight for their right. And fortunately, they won the case. So it's quite a big case for Malaysia. Everybody will study about this case. And customary right. So in Malaysia, we have problem with our own federal government and also state government, because the land always falls to state government rather than federal government. Means federal government have no control to the state government. For example, the land is not been gazetted. The land will the state government have control on the land. I mean, they can do everything they can to exploit the land, whatever they want. So, for example, so many indigenous land, customary land, never been gazetted, often become a victim of land grab by the developer and also by the state government itself. So even though the land is not gazetted, but this is still common law and native right for the things on the land. It is indigenous right, and it is under the common law, and in that itself actually give us Orang Asli a right to reasonable and fair compensation for any acquisition. This is based on the Sagon Tasi and state Selangor state case. So, and not just development. Also, this is also happened on the resettlement program by the government. So many Orang Asli have been resettled in recruitment scheme. Recruitment scheme is a so-called effort by the government to providing better services and improving the social economic condition. And some resettlement program have been success, while others face some problem. I like to state that the problem that I mentioned in this slide is when the indigenous people live in the new area away from the traditional land, they lost their connection to the land already, and the jungle, the way the previous village, where the original village are, is gone. Means they've been moved to completely new area, completely away from the forest, completely right somewhere in the city, and they have problem on adjusting their lifestyle to the new environment, and also they have to learn new way to survive in the environment that they have been resettled to, and that actually creates so much anxiety between the community, and also give a lot of long-term psychological impact to the community itself, and is a one of example of this project is called Bukit Lanjan Community Village. This Bukit Lanjan area been resettled from the original village and to not far, like 100 meters, to build a mixed building development. So mixed building development is include shopping mall, shops, houses, condominium, luxury condominium, house, luxury houses. So, and for example, this Bukit Lanjan Community Village been surrounded by the new development, a city development. At the moment, now the village is already developed. I mean, the city already developed. Problem is the community have trouble in coping with the life with the new environment, and there's so many things they want and they need to do in terms of their traditional lifestyle. It's been gone, so they cannot practice their traditional lifestyle. They have to adopt to the new lifestyle, but that's actually faced with a big obstacle for them to adopt, because so many indigenous people doesn't want to live in a new environment where they have to learn new things, and that actually affect their lifestyle already. And then so many their children become involved in a social issue, for example, drug, alcohol, and so on. And also a lot of families have to move out from their original village to the neighbor indigenous village, far away from the city, to the near the forest, because they cannot cope to the whole environment, because that's not original indigenous environment. And also we're dealing with so many deforestation and logging activity in Malaysia. A lot of logging actually came from the state government. Logging is one of main sources of income, and the state government are the one responsible for granting logging licenses, and they possess constitution power to make decisions on matter related to the land. For example, the government actually asking a lot of thousand ringgit for the logging company to log of the forest, so-called forest reserve. Even though forest reserve is the name of reserve, but actually forest reserve in Malaysia is mean state control forest. That means state controlled forest means the state will decide whatever they want on the forest. Example, logging. So logging is a multi-billion project, and they get so much a percentage, so much, because the log is quite valuable in the market, you know, and most of our log been shipped to China, for example, and other cities in Southeast Asia. And the problem is the indigenous people have very close tie to the forest, have a very close connection to the forest. It's not just a place for us to go find food and medicine, to find medicine and to find building, but actually a place for us to what's it called, connect to our ancestor spirit. And we believe in our indigenous belief. Our ancestors, when they pass away, they will go to the forest, and that's why we indigenous people, we always respect every time. I will respect the jungle. Every time we go to the jungle, we ask permission. We do the ceremony. We give them some food before we take something from the jungle, because the jungle or the forest is belong to spirit, belong to ancestor spirit. This is their home, and our home is we already home. If you want to enter somebody's home for us, we need to ask permission, also give something. So, but there is some development where Orang Asli itself wanting a farm, wanting to do farming, because most of Orang Asli who live nearby the plantation. They work near the palm oil plantation for other company. So other company will give small salary for them. But since beginning of the since the beginning until now, the indigenous people realize they have the same salary. They don't get any raise or any more than just same amount. So now the lot of Orang Asli asking their state government to gazette their land so they can do their farming, their own farming, so they can sell their own farming product. For example, palm oil, rubber, cocoa, so on, so on. And also, I'm talking about palm oil plantation now. So palm oil actually threaten Orang Asli life and also our culture. I forgot to add another culture. So you know, the demand of palm oil in the world is quite high because palm oil been used in many products in around the world. So growing demand of palm oil is, I think, forest as Orang Asli fight for its right, and that's actually what happening in Malaysia at the moment. We still fighting to keep our forests, so we still fighting to keep our to fight for our right in land right, and also our human right. And there's so many deforestation happening in the jungle at the moment, and we afraid there will affect to the loss of biodiversity and threaten the endangered species such as orangutan, tigers, and there's so many endangered species in our country. And yeah, and so many after the logging, usually the land will be planted with a palm oil plantation, and that's it. So in conclusion, I like and I want to address this, that people need to respect the indigenous people right, and also need to recognize the Orang Asli customary right. And also I want to highlight we need to gazette the Orang Asli land reserve in Malaysia, and that's will also will make a better future for indigenous people in Malaysia. I think that's it. Thank you.